For me, my inspiration comes from everything around me. It's most importantly the people I meet, my communication with them, how open they get to me. I find myself in all kinds of places. I travel around a lot, mostly around Africa, and I meet and encounter people. And for me, it's always interesting when somebody is willing to tell me a story, tell me his life story. For me, that is always the starting point for any project. I always try to do things in a different way, not like the general norms of how people get to see things. I always want to bring my own insight. I always come with a different idea. I want people to see another side of a story. I like the idea of going back and going back and going back and allowing things happen naturally. For me, that's my style. That's what I enjoy doing. So most time I don't feel the need to rush a story. I like things to unfold by themselves. Now the photography industry in Nigeria is coming up. It's growing. It could be it could be a lot better, but it's young and it's very vibrant, and there's so much more to be expected from it. I feel documentary photography in Nigeria, it's something that it's eventually going to pay off. For me, it's eventually pays off. So even if I cry for now and say, okay, we're not making that much, I have obviously great belief that my work is going to take me places.
Hush Project documents the stories of a group of sexually abused women in Palestine. Sexual abuse remains a topic which the majority of people in the Arab world avoid talking about, and I feel like we're the generation that needs to take things into our own hands. Before I started shooting the project, I created a 3-week workshop where I tried to build confidence between myself and the women at the shelter through various motivational games and discussions. I invested a great deal of time in getting to know the environment where these women found themselves, and only a month later I was able to take my camera with me to the shelter. In 2010, I worked on my first documentary project. That's when I fell in love with documentary photography, and all of a sudden I realized that I had the power to deliver someone's story to an audience, to use my talent as a tool of communication between those people whose voices aren't heard and the outside world. Photography in Palestine is becoming very popular nowadays, and if you're good enough, you are able to live off of it. The main problem photographers face is the occupation. A lot of the times photographers are attacked by soldiers, prevented from documenting incidents, and sometimes their equipment is confiscated or damaged. The other problem is the freedom of movement. Travel limitations and restrictions severely affect a photographer's work. I get my inspiration from the injustice I see around me. It angers me and makes me want to document it, archive it, and show it to the world in order to help bring change. I think it is every person's moral responsibility to attack injustice in a way or another. Breaking the silence is always the first step.
I'm always inspired by photography as a tool of visual communication and also a medium of self-expression. I'm interested to tell stories that do not make headlines but need to be told. A country like ours is often misrepresented and stereotyped in the mainstream media across the world, and I believe that we should tell our stories in our voices in order to break those notions. Nepal is still stereotyped in the form of temples, sadhus, beautiful landscapes, pretty pictures, and the latest entry, the Maoist conflict. And majority of Nepali photographers do more to strengthen that notion rather than fight it. Commercial photography, travel and tourism pictures, and newspaper photography dominate the photography industry. There are very few photographers practicing contemporary photography. My project is about the only nomadic tribe in Nepal called Raute. My project aims to provide a glimpse of their world, hidden and mysterious to outside. The Rautes have a very famous saying, "You are the dunya, the outside world, and we are the Rautes." I believe it will help to break the rumors and misbeliefs about them and breed empathy and respect towards this beautiful civilization. Photography industry in Nepal is not yet developed properly. Market is limited and payment for photographic work is meager. I think we need a professional practice in distribution of photographs, and distributing work through an agency like Majority World might be helpful in accessing wider range of clients and also for exposure of work produced by local photographers in the global market.
Almost 5 years ago, I was shocked to learn that my law school bound friend was training to join the national beauty pageant. I remember asking her sister, is she crazy? Is she bored? Is she broke? And I got really intrigued, so I picked up my camera and started to look for answers. Pageants are a metaphor for Filipino culture because they glorify beauty, reflect filial and societal mores, and provide an aspirational platform that is manifestation of my country's colonial history. I did take some pictures of the girls training, and some of them were unflattering, and they were not too happy about that. And I put myself in their position, and I wouldn't want to be photographed that way. So I decided to take them out, and I would rather take another photo without breaking their trust. As a photographer, I get my inspiration from personal experiences like growing up or having certain habits or meeting, certain interesting people. The kind of work I would like to produce, aside from it being well researched and of best quality, is anything that shows the human condition. To survive, I just have to look for a balance in finding time to work on personal projects and choosing jobs that can enrich my experience and help me improve in my craft as well as fund my personal projects. In the Philippines, it's not just work hard, but work smart, establishing professional relationships with different editors here and abroad. It's constantly refining and editing your portfolio, knowing what your client needs, especially knowing how to put value in your work.
The title of my photo project is Kwaito Culture. Kwaito is a style of music that came to life during the 1990s and repositioned South African black youth from the point of notoriety to that of celebrity culture. It came at a time when South Africans were celebrating their newly found political freedom, in the process of redefining themselves as a nation. During the apartheid years, black youth in South Africa had very few opportunities, particularly in the mainstream music industry. Kwaito was the first creative channel for them, and it came to embody their lifestyle. When I started working on this project, I saw it as an opportunity to defocus stereotypes and refocus the movement of black youth identity. I am part of this movement that I'm documenting. But what inspired me the most was the lack of positive images of Africa in general. To show images of South Africa that foreigners never get to see in mainstream media. And to prove to the world that Africa is not all about starving children, AIDS, and conflict as usually portrayed. My aim is to inspire, to motivate, and to give hope to the frustrated talent that abounds among black women in my country. Surviving financially as a full-time and an independent photographer in South Africa is not easy. But there is also a much bigger challenge facing us photographers residing in majority world regions. It is the influx of foreign photographers sent by international photo agencies to come and document our lives and take our stories to the world, like we are incapable to do that ourselves. I hope that those that are promoting this trend are aware of the consequences of their actions. I just wish organizations could consider the services of local photographers more often.
When he was working with a project empowering sex worker children through photography supported by UNICEF. As I remember, the very first day when he visited our area and sitting on the floor meeting with the then small kid asked me, "Whom do you love in your family?" I was really shy and nervous in replying to his question. I took some time and finally hesitantly responded that I love my mother. For me, it is so difficult to explain, but the image carry emotions and sentiments revolving around me and my mother, who was forced to be a sex worker. I started to photograph my mother when I was a kid. You see, it is very spontaneous initially. Now it has taken a shape the way I had planned. For me, it is very challenging as an insider residing in the so-called red light area. I found some foreign photographer coming from outside and taking picture of sex worker and the area where we live. But their picture do not represent the reality or do not show the complexities faced by us who stay in the area itself.
It is a project about slave trade in the region of Benin, West Africa. I decided to start it with a series on fugitive slaves. So I was in Paris 2 years ago, and I went to the Musée du Quai Branly, to the bibliothèque, looking for all the information I could get about these muzzles. I wanted to be as close as I can to the original pieces. So I made blueprints of it and went to Benin and gave it to blacksmith. They made it. I made about 5 muzzles. I had all these pieces, and now I had to find some people to wear them. I mean, as soon as I was putting these iron pieces on them, pretty heavy pieces, and it was hot, you could see the attitude changing. I mean, the face, the expression, everything. I didn't have to give any direction. It was there, you know. They had that face I was looking for. It's very important to me that there is a meaning in your photography, no matter what you do. I'm always trying to relate it to African or African American history or culture. But there is one thing for sure, is that you definitely have to go international to make a living out of photography. That is, there's no way out.
For me, photography is freedom. I'm doing photography not only because it is my passion, but it is a way of expressing my emotion, and I could convey the message to the world what I have seen, felt and realized. And I could also share the message of the people of our society whose voices are suppressed or remain unheard. I wanted to share the story of these people who have lost their vision from childhood and don't have any difference between light and darkness. But they have a dream, thirst for life, and are trying hard to build their life with beauty and color. We should see them with respect, not only with sympathy. I feel proud for them, and I thought I should show this to the world. Majority World is a good platform for me to show and distribute my work to the world. It has also given me a bit of financial support by selling some of my images. Today I am very happy that Majority World has given a chance for me to show my project to a global audience.